Okay, so I want to get this video out for you guys. I know the camera might be a little shaky because I've got you attached to my windshield, but it's not that sturdy. But I want to get this message out here because it's important what I saw today in the markets. All right, I actually just got back from the post office. I had to cut my trade short because I had the appointment at the post office to get my passport because I plan on doing some traveling. I'll tell you guys about that another time. What I saw in the markets today was basically a rug pull event. Right now, I wasn't long, so on my trade, so I wasn't that worried about it. I was short, however, and I kept going short because I was like, I just was not believing all of the news about the markets blowing over the China thing. I thought it was way too early to claim that the markets are just blowing over the China news. Something was like really, really fishy about that to me. So what we saw was the market's attempt to rally. Even Apple popped back up. Tesla had popped back up. The markets were still in a downtrend from pre-market, but at least we were kind of hanging there around flat. But we just came right on down towards the later part of the morning, probably about 11:30, 11 o'clock. Markets just started plummeting. Now, why did this happen? Well, if you look at the dollar wasn't playing today. It wasn't going along with the markets, maybe some bullish sentiment that is out there. The dollar just continues to go up. Furthermore, we have the Japanese yen holding its own against the dollar and against some other currencies. You've got things like the pound sterling is down. The European currency is down. So to see the yen holding its own against the dollar and holding its own against all these other currencies, I thought that was kind of telling because it meant something's going on in China. Now, if the yen continues to rise, right, if it not only holds its own but continues to rise, we'll really know something bad happened in China because the censorship is crazy. We are not getting half of the story about what's going on in China. First, they told us it was about Apple, iPhone factory conditions. Then they told us, no, it's the COVID lockdowns, the zero COVID policy. Very, very dangerous time to be long in the market today. And I recognize that, because it was just too soon to call. About 10 o'clock in the morning, I found a report from CNN early in the morning that a lot of people had missed. I had missed. And it was a report about some sort of military encounter in the South China Sea. What kind of military encounter? Who knows? But what CNN said is that the U.S. military was conducting some sort of missile testing in territory. The Chinese claim they need permission. They need to get authorization from the Chinese government to do these tests. And apparently the U.S. military went ahead and did it anyways. What's interesting about this story, though, right? And they had harsh words for each other. That was like in the headline. U.S. and China military have harsh words for each other after military encounter in the South China Sea. That was literally like the headline. But I read another article about how Kamala Harris was in the Philippines and she was reasserting, America's stance on the Philippines, our commitment to the Philippines. And this is one of the best things I've heard Kamala Harris doing yet, since she's been vice president. She went to the Philippines and talked about how, because China has been making very small incursions on the Philippines, airspace and their sea areas. They've been kind of bullying some of the Philippines Coast Guard, supposedly, right? That's what the Western media says. So anyways, China is getting bold, and by doing this, and they've done this a few times now. This goes back to the Obama administration where this happened, where there were several incursions that the Obama administration refused to address, refused to do anything about. So it kind of emboldened China to continue with this sort of behavior. But Kamala Harris said that America's commitment to the Philippines still stands, and they're going to, because the other thing you got to consider, there's this treaty that was supposedly signed, I think in the 50s. And it prevents China, the treaty is supposed to prevent China from making these kind of incursions into the Philippines. The point is that China is definitely, something's going on there. I don't know if they're getting more emboldened, not just with their domestic policy, but with their foreign policy and military policy. But something big is happening in China. We just had the Vice President Kamala Harris over there a couple of days ago, trying to send a message to China that you can't continue to act this way in these international waters. So I think what we're seeing in the global markets, what we're seeing in the currency markets, the bonds were kind of catching a bid a little bit today, but what we're seeing across the stock market is probably because of something that's happening in China. We don't exactly know what it is. And I think there is some sort of distraction campaign going on here. Right? The COVID lockdown protests, I think a lot of this has more to do with monetary issues, but they always try to politicize this stuff. They don't want to highlight what the central banks are actually up to. They don't want to highlight what the central planners are actually doing. So they make it about politics, they make it about COVID, they make it about Trump, they make it about anything other than what the issue actually is, which is probably has something to do with the unelected central planners and some of their decision making. But yeah, I wanted to come on here and talk about this because a lot of people are like down on their positions, they're down on their calls, they're down on their stocks, they see the market falling, and they're wondering what's going on here. There's supposed to be some bullish sentiment. There's supposed to be a Santa Claus rally. We're going into December. We just came off a good month, right? People think 50 basis point rate hike is coming in December 14th, December 15th for the FOMC meeting. I tend to lean more towards 75 basis points, but I'll discuss that in other videos as I have. Anyways, I won't keep you guys. Let me know if you saw anything else that you think contributed to the stock market's losses today. And as always, until next time, I'll see you on the next video. Follow me on Instagram at Millennial Trades. All right, I'm out.